Welcome to City Services Monthly. I'm your host, Donnie Turlington. This month, I'm joined by Cecelia Thompson, the Executive Director for Action Greensboro. Cecelia, welcome to City Services Monthly and Greensboro Television Network.
Well, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Talk a little bit about yourself and kind of what your role is at Action Greensboro. I think Action Greensboro is an organization that lots of our viewers have probably heard of, but maybe they don't understand all the different things that you all do there. But first of all, introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Cecelia Thompson, and I'm almost 10 years into living in Greensboro. Have loved being here. I went to school locally and landed in Greensboro from an internship and worked for various different foundations and landed at Action Greensboro in 2008. So I'm almost 7 years into working for Action Greensboro, and it's been a really fantastic time. Before that, I was a volunteer too, so I've been around for a while now. And I think that a lot of residents of Greensboro touch things on a daily basis in terms of what Action Greensboro has been up to since 2000. However, they don't necessarily relate it to Action Greensboro. Everything from the baseball stadium to having Elon Law downtown, thinking about quality K through 12 education, higher education. Really we sort of span the city in terms of aspects that improve quality of life.
Sure.
So we have a lot of fun.
One of the things that I think a lot of residents see and hear a lot about on a regular basis, but don't necessarily connect it to you all, is something like the Downtown Greenway.
Sure.
And the Greenway is sort of in the news every couple of months as they're working on continuing to build it. And right now there's a lot of conversation about a new public art installation that's going to go out there. But talk about the Greenway and Action Greensboro's involvement.
Sure. So Action Greensboro, since our beginning, have been really focused on economic development for quality of life purposes. And I think the Greenway is a shining example of that. We embarked on the Greenway really almost 14, 15 years ago with a concept that Greensboro could have a trail that goes around the center city, something that would really stand out from other communities across the country. We often sort of joke about having a riverless city, but we think the Greenway will be our river. It's a 4-mile loop around the center city. It'll define our central area, and it's filled with everything from public art to beautiful landscaping, trails for people to walk, exercise. So it has a lot of dimensions from health and wellness to public art, but also really thinking about economic development. That's what drives this project. And so if you notice on the north end of the Greenway right now around Deep Roots Market and Greenway at Fisher Park Apartments, we're seeing right now just on that north end a $30 return on a dollar investment that we've been making on the Greenway. And we just can't wait to see what other returns we get along the way.
Sure. And I think that's where a lot of folks don't understand how, sort of the business side to the Greenway, because a lot of residents will look at that and say, well, that's a nice to have. But I think in Greensboro, we're saying it's a need to have. It's something that we think is going to continue to attract more businesses. And as we're seeing with Deep Roots, businesses are wanting to locate near it. We're thinking that it's a great place that people are going to want to live near. It's an attraction for the neighborhoods. It's an attraction for the new places that are being built. And I think as other sections of the Greenway are established, I think you hope and expect that will continue.
Absolutely. I think that parks and trails are really a point of pride for Greensboro. And as we build this, we're really seeing that folks want to live close to trails.
Sure.
And they want to have, urban environments around trails. And so everything from grocery stores to living to yoga studios, we're seeing this pop up along the way. So it's just, we anticipate completing the Greenway by 2018. And a lot of progress is going to happen in the next couple years. So we're super excited.
And the way that works, we've actually spent some time on Greensboro Television Network over the last couple of years describing the relationship between the city and the Greenway and Action Greensboro. And the way it works in a lot of cases is that the city has engineers and works with the professional groups that design and build the Greenway. The city is also, through its Parks and Recreation Department and other places, we help to keep it clean and keep the flowers pretty and blooming and mulch it and that sort of thing. But Action Greensboro, through Dabney Sanders and through your office, really kind of manages the Greenway and kind of the progress.
Absolutely. This is, I think, a shining example of a public-private partnership between Action Greensboro and the city, and between the team at the city and Dabney's team at the office. It's really, I think, a pretty sort of seamless partnership between the two, and has worked really well. So hopefully, as we plan our next big endeavor, we can have a great model to work on.
So that's a great example just right off the bat to help our viewers understand a little bit about what Action Greensboro does. But I know there's another, and you're talking about it from an economic development standpoint, but there are a few other buckets that you all are work within and focus on. Talk about some of those other things.
Sure. So like we mentioned, urban development, and so over the years we do continue to manage Center City Park, really partnership with the city of Greensboro through funding. So if you're coming out to the park this summer, starting in May, we'll have free programming, everything from fitness to movie nights, concerts, food trucks. It's a really beautiful park, and I think a really central gathering place for our community to come together. So we take a lot of pride in Center City Park downtown. We were a piece of the recruitment of the National Folk Festival, and we continue to partner with Arts Greensboro on that project. Super excited for September 11, 12, and 13. But outside of urban development, we're focused on higher education. We run a program called Opportunity Greensboro, which is a collaboration of the presidents and chancellors of the universities and colleges and the business community. It's a real model for collaboration between business and higher education. And I think 6 years ago, we didn't really recognize Greensboro as much as a college town. We've got 50,000 college students here, 7 schools, really diverse schools. And over the last 5 years, they've really made a lot of progress. Everything from starting the STEM early college at North Carolina A&T to really excited, just this month, we're going to be breaking ground on Union Square campus, which is our new downtown university campus. And then outside of that, we continue to work with our other business units at the Greensboro Partnership, primarily with Entrepreneur Connection. They run a fantastic accelerator program, and we recently partnered with Entrepreneur Connection to open a new space downtown called CoLab.
There's never a shortage of things to be involved in for you all, and the neat thing is that you're seeing a lot of fruits of your labor. With the Greenway, with Union Square, with the CoLab up and running now. There's been a lot of exciting things for Action Greensboro here the last year or so, which since January of 2014 you've been the director of, but lots of fun things are happening and exciting things are happening.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun on a daily basis. And one thing I didn't mention, which is always fun and exciting, is Synergy Young Professionals.
Sure.
It's our effort to attract and retain young people to Greensboro. And we do that through social activities, through leadership activities, some other things people may be noticing around town from the pop-up promenade. There's some hexagons up and down February 1 Street, a really vibrant green bus stop in front of the YMCA downtown is a Synergy project. So we're continuing on a daily basis. Hillary Meredith, our young professional coordinator, is thinking about how to plug young people into the city to keep them here, not only to enjoy Greensboro as a place to live, but to contribute to our community and give back.
Well, that's a great point, because one of the things that I think a lot of us hear all the time is, okay, we've got 50,000 college students in Greensboro. What are we doing to keep them here on a regular basis? And now we can point to something through Synergy and through a lot of the other higher education efforts that you all have of ways to connect with them, engage with them, make them feel like, first of all, that they're welcome here and that we're excited to have them, but then to create opportunities for them. And the entrepreneurial connection is a great way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we really run the gamut for quality of life. When folks sort of have a hard time understanding and putting their hands around what Action Greensboro's focus is, I ask, what do you like to do when you live here? And when you sell a community to a business person or another family that's continuing to thinking about moving here, those are the things people are asking about. They're asking about quality of education. They're asking about vibrancy of downtown, opportunities for young people. And I'm confident that Action Greensboro is really filling the space there and making those things happen.
You mentioned the Greensboro Partnership, and that is something that we've spent some time talking about. Dan Lynch, when he was with the partnership, was a guest of ours about a year or so ago, talking about the economic development side of the equation for them. But explain the Greensboro Partnership umbrella and where Action Greensboro fits within that. Sure.
So the Greensboro Partnership is the primary economic development nonprofit here in Greensboro, and there are 4 business units. And so that includes the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development, Entrepreneur Connection, and Action Greensboro. And so we really have 3 offices right now. We've got Chamber and Economic Development housed on North Elm Street. Entrepreneur Connections now housed at CoLab on North Green Street, and Action Greensboro is on North Church. Are we in South Church? We're on Church Street.
That's
I'm not
right.
sure which
That's right.
one. I think
Yep.
we're on South. So we really sort of were all over the downtown
that
area.
triangle effect going
Exactly. And they're all in walking distance, which is good for our team. But thinking about what we do to enhance local business, how we nurture local business, how we grow, local businesses through entrepreneurship, how we recruit new businesses here through economic development, and really thinking about how we can add vibrancy to our community through Action Greensboro. So we really work well as a team between the business units. We all are constantly, on the phone with one another, asking each other, how can I help you if someone's looking at Greensboro for, to move their business here? What can we contribute in terms of quality of life, and vice versa. So I think we work really well as a team between those 4 business units. It's a very defined mission and, plan of work for each, but all make a lot of sense being under one umbrella.
Sure. So as residents are kind of wrapping their heads around Action Greensboro, you've done a great job of describing it. What could you characterize as like the single biggest thing that you have to focus on as the executive director on a daily basis? Because you've got parts and pieces everywhere, but what's your one single driver that you're kind of looking at?
Sure, that's a good question. Well, Action Greensboro is an interesting organization. I think it's super unique in the country, really, because it's a collaboration of 6 foundations. And so those private foundations pool their resources to help Action Greensboro run. And so the foundations, there are 6 of them, and the presidents of those foundations meet actually every other week to come together to talk about not only how our program of work is moving along, but also what's facing the city at this point in this day in this time. And so I work hand in hand with the foundation heads to really be proactive and ahead of the game in terms of what the city's facing. And so sometimes it has to do with a specific project like the Downtown Greenway, progressing one thing or the other. Other times it can be an opportunity like the National Folk Festival. When that request for proposals landed on our desk, we looked at that and said, wow, this can add a lot to our community, not just in terms of the fun factor, but the economic impact of a festival of that size and what it really means for Greensboro to host it. Yeah. And so we were able to be really nimble and say, you know what, we're going to put a team on that and sort of jump on that opportunity, and we dove into it and won it. So I think, my responsibility as executive director is really thinking about what's the most important thing for Greensboro at this time, while still sort of juggling the programming and the projects, everything from the park to the Greenway to Synergy. So it keeps us on our toes, but we always say at Action Greensboro, every day is different and every day is an adventure. So we have a lot of fun.
Well, in addition to having a lot of fun, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hold that thought. We'll come back for more. Thank you so much for your time so far today, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Action Greensboro. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Cecelia Thompson talking about Action Greensboro. Welcome back to City Services Monthly. I'm Donnie Turlington, this month joined by Cecelia Thompson with Action Greensboro. Cecelia, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little bit, you've mentioned already with Union Square campus and with the Folk Festival of a couple of exciting things that are getting ready to happen, this month and later this year. But talk a little bit more about that and any other major initiatives that might be coming up. Again, I mentioned the art work, the art project with the Downtown Greenway, but there's always something it seems like that's happening.
Yeah, well, it's spring, and so we're happy to be breaking ground on a couple things, specifically Union Square campus. Union Square is a project that came out of Opportunity Greensboro, our higher education collaboration. And the campuses were really thinking about what would be feasible to bring common programs together from a couple of the various institutions. And we looked through a lot of different curriculum pieces on the campuses, but really nursing came to the top. There's everything from doing a BA in nursing to an AA in nursing to a PhD in nursing between UNCG, North Carolina A&T, and GTCC, plus a fantastic health system like Cone Health. And so those entities are coming together to build a joint facility in downtown just on South Elm and Lee Street. And so, actually it's on Arlington now, so we just moved it down a couple council meetings, but we're hoping for a really great development on Elm Street adjacent too.
But if folks are in downtown Greensboro and they get in their car and they drive South Elm past Mellow Mushroom and get to Lee Street and they look across, they're
going to see
footprint.
Union Square.
That's
Right. And so that is a collaboration. It'll be a joint facility where students really from all the different schools can come together and share that space, bring a lot of different students downtown. In addition, it'll have a simulation lab for professional development for Cone Health. So those nurses can use it, doctors can use it. In addition to bringing folks in from outside of Greensboro, it'll be a really unique space simulation lab for everyone to use.
Really exciting.
So we're super excited about that and breaking ground just this month. Another thing on the horizon is the National Folk Festival, sort of switching gears. The National Folk Festival is the longest ongoing festival in the country. It started in 1932. It's been all over the country, but when we received the RFP about a year and a half ago, we recognized that it's never been in North Carolina, which is pretty amazing considering the folk culture that we have here. And so they announced that just last year that they're going to join us in Greensboro in downtown. I think the urban footprint's really the right fit for this festival. And something really interesting is the festival's never been sitting right on top of a train station before. And so we're actually advertising this up and down the East Coast for people to get on Amtrak trains, arrive right at the depot in the Gate City. So we're super excited about that. But it's a 3-day free festival, everything from dance to music to arts to crafts. A lot of food, some local beer will be there. So it's a great family-friendly festival for 3 days that will really, we hope to attract between 80 and 100,000 people to Greensboro during those 3 days.
And I've learned so much realizing that folk is really everything.
Yeah.
It's not, I kind of was probably one of those people that had the impression, well, it's bluegrass, it's a Merle Fest, it's something along those lines, but it's really all of those things plus anything else that you can think of music-wise.
Yeah, I went to the Richmond Folk Festival, do a little research last year, and everything from the world's most prominent mariachi bands to Balkan brass bands. I mean, it's really amazing. And when you're trying to think about it in your head, you're like, are people going to respond well? But crowds were standing out in huge amounts in the rain, in the dark, listening to these amazing bands really from all over the world. So
and
it's a fantastic one.
And you can't say free enough. It is
it's
absolutely free.
Yeah. So, and for many of our residents, they can come down on a bus, they can come down, really anybody can come through train, and also walk for those that are living in the downtown area. So it's exciting.
And that's September 11th through the 13th later this year. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
what else is on the horizon for Action Greensboro?
We're moving some more dirt this year on the downtown Greenway, completing the north section to cover where Deep Roots is connecting to the railroad. But in addition, like I mentioned about public art, there are 4 major cornerstones on the downtown Greenway that have various themes. So we have the Gateway of the Open Book that sits on Lee Street that connects to Spring Garden. We also completed last year the Tradition Cornerstone Meeting Place, which I'm sure many are familiar with on Prescott and Smith Street. But we're excited this year to be completing the Innovation Cornerstone, which is on Murrow Boulevard in the northeast section of the downtown Greenway. It's a special site because it'll encompass the Innovation Cornerstone. It'll also include the donor wall for the downtown Greenway. There's a lot of donors that have contributed to this project, and we thank them for that. But in addition, we'll also have a playground for children with special needs, and so we're excited about that piece also. The Innovation Cornerstone will really reflect the past and the future of what innovation means in Greensboro, and so we're looking at a panel of national artists that are bidding on this project that are excited about doing art in Greensboro, and they're spending time right now in Greensboro really meeting, going out to the White Oak Denim Plant. An artist met with students at North Carolina A&T and the early college STEM program. So really doing a lot of research about what innovation means for Greensboro and how that can be reflected in a piece of art for our community. So.
And I think that's the thing that maybe residents who have not been on the Greenway and walked through the portions that are completed of just how, not only how unique the artwork is, but how it's reflective of the fabric of our community in so many ways.
Absolutely. It's really thoughtful art. So everything from the local artists that are designing our benches, and those benches reflect each neighborhood that the Greenway goes through, to pieces like bike racks and even Color House on Spring Garden, I think, has really become an icon for our city, the painting that the artist did from Miami. So we hope that that kind of contributes not only to the landscape, but really to the brand of the city.
Well, and residents who may want to know how they can get involved, I'll put a plug in for an event that I've participated in a couple of times now, the Run for the Greenway. And that happens later in the year.
It does.
And that's a great way to both experience the Greenway, you run on portions of it, but also, the funding goes to help pay for the Greenway down the road.
Absolutely. The funds from the Run for the Greenway go into our endowment fund. This year it'll be in late September and starts in Center City Park. And we've got the 8K, or I think it's actually a 5-mile run, in addition to a 1-mile fun run. And this year we're super excited because we're going to have a dog entry. So
Awesome.
Dogs can run the 1-mile fun run. Very dog friendly at Action Greensboro. So we're excited to have that.
Personally, I just need the weather to be, instead of mid-90s, to be mid-80s, and it would be perfect.
Exactly.
But you can't
exactly.
complain.
Well, thanks for running and being a good ambassador.
It's a lot of fun. So the last question I have for you, Cecelia, is to kind of ask you to take your Action Greensboro cap off and just put your young professionals cap on. But you talked about your coming to school here, volunteering, being an intern, and now you're the director of Action Greensboro. But as a young professional, what keeps you here in Greensboro? What are some of the things that you get excited about?
You know, I think that when I moved to Greensboro, I had a reason. I think it still really resonates today. I was looking across the state at, I love North Carolina. I wanted to stay in North Carolina and really thinking about where I could make a difference. And Greensboro really shined because it's a city that you can get your hands into different projects. As a young person, you're welcome. People want young people at the table here. Our city council wants to be in touch with young professionals and hear what they think and how they can shape the city. Our business leaders are really accessible here. And so I really found that to be a unique thing about Greensboro is that you can have access to leadership and you can have a seat at the table and making a difference in your community and really shaping what you think it should be. There's a lot of cities across the country where things are already set. But here you can really make it your own. And I think that we have some challenges ahead, but it's an amazing thing to move to a city that you're welcome to give your input, to contribute your skills and your dollars. And so that really still resonates to me today. I think Greensboro's really shaped me as a leader, and that is because our leadership here has been so willing and able to be a mentor to me. And so I'm super excited about a lot of things happening in the next 3 years, from the Greenway progress to the Performing Arts Center. LeBauer Park is going to be unbelievable. So what's happening in downtown makes me really excited to get up every day and work. But in addition to, I think there's always those intangibles about Greensboro. It's about, walking your dog in a really cool neighborhood. It's about local grocery stores and awesome ethnic food and all those pieces that I think sometimes we take for granted here. But there's just so much to be grateful for living in Greensboro. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Cecelia, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Keep up the great work, and we have so many things to look forward to with the work that Action Greensboro is doing.
We look forward to working with you.
Outstanding.
Thanks.
That's Cecelia Thompson, Executive Director of Action Greensboro, and that's all the time we have for this month's edition of City Services Monthly. But thanks for tuning in to Greensboro Television Network, and we'll see you next month.